Welcome, dear all, to twitch.tv/Wensleydale Cheddar. This is Stammer stream, manga podcast, and speech therapy combined. I'm your stammering host, Wensleydale Cheddar, here alongside your non-stammering hosts, Kastor UK, Hovin with an H, and Dr. Nova. How are you guys doing this week?
Rather traumatized, because last night I decided to delve into, with a friend, the infamous visual novel Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh god.
You know it too.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah.
Doki Doki Literature Club. For those who do not know, it is a visual novel where, you know, it's kind of like a book that you with accompanying images. And it's set up like a typical dating sim where you join a club and there are all of like these. I'm getting echoed through Nova. Sorry.
I'm not saying anything.
No, I'm getting echo from my thing through you.
From your speakers.
Okay, it's gone. Yeah, no, it's still there. But anyway, no, you join a club and there are all of these. This is an array of cute girls for you to hang out with, and you can choose to gravitate towards one or the other. And you know, so far so typical.
Choose might be a strong word in this case.
Yeah, because every single route leads you down some game-breaking horror. Of some variety. I only really did one proper route, but I did the thing where you do another route after and it's been affected by the last one. It's kind of like Undertale in the way that it will literally fuck with your game save.
Ooh,
just to kind of add to the experience.
Yeah. It's quite like Undertale as well, because it's where Undertale was into the dissection of like the RPG, where it's essentially just like if you start killing enemies for the sake of it, the game judges you and you get a worse ending. In this one, it's the idea like, yeah, you choose all these girls and choose one of them to fall in love with you. What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Yeah, and like it started getting super meta towards the end.
Super meta! It breaks the fourth wall and jumps up and down, and it's great.
Yes. And like it was great because one of the friends I was watching it with was like a computer. He does computer programming, so he was like, oh my god, they are actually deleting files when they do this. Yeah. And he's like, try doing this. Try going to the game directory, and like you can do stuff, you know, involving the game directory, which then interacts with the game. Yeah. I do recommend checking it out as a curiosity if you can get past like a kind of boring visual novel section for the first 4 hours. But like in a sense that boredom is almost on purpose because it puts you in like a comfy mood, and then it all gets upset. So
it's a deconstruction game. If you like dating visual novels, you'll get a lot of the jokes and you'll love it.
It's also not for the faint of heart.
Nope.
If you're easily disturbed, you have anxiety. Like they say that they give a warning for this at the beginning of the game,
which is great if you're just going in expecting a normal dating sim, because it gives no warnings of it apart from don't play if you're easily scared or anxious.
Oh yeah, and for reference,
just don't play. Great advertising.
I believe it's completely free on Steam as well.
It is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I got it for free.
It's so great.
So, yeah, anyone with a computer can pretty much try it.
Cool.
I have absolutely no idea what this is. I assume it goes into a school days scenario or something?
Guy, not even that, really. Like, School Days was a bit more simple in that it's a VN where most of the endings are bad endings, whereas this goes beyond that, in a sense.
Okay. Okay,
like it's that, and then and then it's a step further.
I kind of got the School Days vibe too.
I wouldn't look up any images because I've been spoiled on other routes just from being on Twitter and seeing people posting memes of it.
The best way to do it is just to play it completely blind.
Yeah,
with a friend, so you can literally turn to each other and go, "What the literal fuck?"
Yes, just like you guys played Undertale. Oh wait, you haven't any yet. You're suddenly experts on it.
I read the Wikipedia page.
I've seen a whole Let's Play of both routes.
Both routes, you
I don't
say?
want to play Undertale. Hurrah.
Yeah. Genocide and pacifist.
Since when you were under the impression that there are just two routes?
Okay, yeah, there are like subtleties in other ways and stuff, but yeah.
Okay. So, speaking of subtleties, let's move on to One Piece. Chapter.
keeping up the trend of the segues, I see.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, this is a better segue than normal. Though the use of subtleties with Dogtooth is quite a good one in this chapter.
Okay, so it's chapter 883, Merienda. Katakuri once again brings us back to the theme of deception we see all the time in this arc. You know what, guys? Come to think of it, Usopp should really be here, but regardless, it seems that the apple doesn't fall far from the pudding, and Katakuri will give anything to keep up appearances about his stoic self. So, what do you think, guys?
I love that.
Was it an effective way to give a comedic side to this character?
I think
Yes.
it was.
Because he's terrifying.
I love Katakuri so much.
He's amazing.
I absolutely adore this character. I think his design has been excellent, and I've been a broken record about how amazing I think this fight has been up until now. But just that he has this wacky, like, donut-loving gimmick as well. It just sort of like we've been adding layer after layer after layer to this character.
It's almost like kind of a reversal on how you'd expect him to be more of the constantly stoic Lucci type.
Yeah, and just in case you haven't read this chapter, it's not like he just likes donuts and that's his thing. Contrary to what Brule built him up as, he just lies down like a slob. He takes a giant donut and says, donuts! Yummy, yummy donuts! The jelly-filled ones are my favorite. Nothing beats a jelly donut. You know what, guys? I know we got rid of the summaries, but can we read Katakuri as Brock?
Sure.
Okay, but to be fair, to go on Katakuri's side for just a moment, if you make him that big a fucking donut, what is he supposed to do? He's supposed to just nibble on the side dignifiedly? This is half the baker's fault. Let's be honest here. Come on, guys.
True. I do love that I hadn't noticed up until now we'd never seen his mouth before. But also, I think it's less that Brule built him up to be something he's not. I think that what's implied heavily in this chapter is that he's built up a cult of personality around himself as this stoic, amazing hero. But in private he relaxes as this slob, which is an interesting thing of like if you have all this pressure on you all the time, you've got to have moments where you can just be yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of like the leading lady of Cross account.
Yeah, yes, but
Great
done well and not
comparison,
creepily.
Except a little less horseshit, but you know.
Yeah.
God, that series is dying a painful death in the rankings, and I'm glad.
Good.
Oh, it's not dying painful enough death. I hope
It's not painful enough.
If every Jump magazine that it was printed into spontaneously combusted, then it'd be closer to what it should deserve.
It's not quite. It's not dying as bad a death as what was that one with the robot girl who was invented to be sexy, but was incredibly embarrassed about it, that got cancelled after 16 chapters without even a chance to conclude. It's just like, no, you're not doing this anymore. Go away.
I prefer a robot.
I didn't see that one. I think that was before I got my subscription. But yeah.
But I also stuff in this chapter I love that he thinks that the reason Katakuri walks away and essentially goes and has his Mirinda is because he buried Luffy under a pile of mulchi that should have suffocated anyone else. And it's a logical conclusion, apart from Luffy eats his way out of it, which is also a logical conclusion.
And then what also is a logical conclusion is that he just runs to the end of the room and back again, and suddenly he's not fat anymore.
All this works with One Piece logic. My other favourite thing is when he gets to the top and the chefs are trying to tell him, no, he's not there at all. He went to outside. It's like, oh, look, I sense a powerful force and was inside that shrine. Oh my god, he's got haki. Sniff, sniff. And he's eating donuts.
Is that also Haki?
Yeah, this is a bad first chapter to be introduced into One Piece for.
My friend actually literally just caught up. He hasn't actually properly read all of it, but he read plot synopses and started the arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's enjoying it a lot.
So now he will think that observation Haki is just the power to sense donuts.
Also, two things. One, did Luffy burn off the calories, or did he take a dump?
I think that it's implied he burnt off the calories because he's done this before, in that his rubber body can essentially just metabolize food absurdly quickly for a comic gag.
Mm.
The thing I also want to note is at the start, Dogtooth mentions, as he's essentially beating the living shit out of Luffy, that I just want to tell you, I haven't underestimated you even once. Because it's been noted with all Luffy's past opponents, the only reason he's been able to beat them is because they start off underestimating him and give him a chance to learn their powers.
Mm.
Yeah, it really does sort of imply that Katakuri is very much like, I didn't think the mochi would hold you. I just really frickin' wanted some donuts, dude.
Well, does he say that? I thought he thought that the mochi would hold him. He thought because it should literally have suffocated anyone.
I know, I'm saying that I don't think he thought like, oh, the mochi is like my ending attack here.
Well, he says sorry about finishing the fight this way.
Yeah, I thought
Okay,
did think that.
Whatever.
Yeah, it is one little hole, just like the fact that you've given your opponent the ability to see the future, he had to slip up.
Well, the interesting thing is, well, no, that's not a plot hole, but that's next week's chapter, which we can talk about then. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this is an amazing fight, and I love it, and it's a really good One Piece fight. I'm not entirely sure why it's in this arc. A lot of this arc is I'm looking back and thinking this is all really cool and everything. I think this arc should have ended about 30 chapters ago. It's great, but I'm not sure what's the point of it in universe and out.
I mean, if the point of it was this fight, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, I think the point of it was to give Luffy a big fight.
Well, as I said last week, the point of everything now is to have Big Mom come and eat the cake that Sanji putting in Chiffon making.
Yeah, which I'm not entirely sure why they're like out of narrative. I'm not entirely sure why that's been included in the arc because
So do you just think it should have ended with they escape from the wedding and get away?
Yes, because I'm not like outside of everything. Like for the meta-analysis of this, I don't know why all this stuff is happening afterwards. Because everything that's going on at the moment, we've already had built up in this arc before. Luffy's already fought one of the generals and only barely won because of technicalities. They've already been built up. He doesn't need to fight a second. If anything, if he beats Dogtooth here, it diminishes the threat that was already built up. With Big Mom chasing after the cake, I don't know. Like, so okay, Big Mom's chasing after the cake. There's a number of other ways they could have escaped and still had her chasing after her. The idea of like, okay, we've got to go and do this, essentially this side task C instead of just escaping from this place, is a bit contrived, and I'm not entirely sure why.
Well, I don't. Again, you can't. I just really enjoy all this stuff. Is the thing. I really like you. We've gotten to see Jinbei, show his moxie as the new crew member. We're having an opponent that they have to take out in an unconventional way because she's just that damn strong.
And
this fight has been awesome. Like, you're not wrong, but I don't really care. I think is what I'm saying, I guess.
I don't mind it either because it's well written.
The most fun stuff in this arc, honestly, is happening right now. So I'm right there with Hovin.
I'm enjoying this. I think it's hard. I think once we see what all of this is building up to, it'll be a little bit easier to say whether or not it should have, maybe cut down a little bit. I agree that a lot of the chasing portions hasn't been particularly fascinating, but I think this fight is a lot of fun.
I don't know. I'm just comparing this in my head. Like, at this time in Dressrosa, I think we were on like the plateaus. Where it's just like, we got to the next level, and the next... I was like, oh my god. Like, it's way less tiresome than that.
Thing is, in my
I think
head,
this is a very differently paced arc than Dressrosa, though, because Dressrosa was a very classical One Piece arc, in the sense that it was going off to take out this big villain, and this really isn't.
Mhm.
This is more of an escape, which usually we get a tiny one at the end of arcs, but I actually have no objection to seeing it stretched out a little bit longer. And frankly, I agree with you in the sense that I can understand how maybe once we, if it really does just end with, okay, Big Mom eats the cake and we head out, then yeah, that's going to seem a little bit unfortunate. But if other stuff comes from this, then I'm all for it.
You know what, guys?
because
I'm thinking that if we took elements of Totland and Whole Cake Island and Dressrosa, we would have the perfect arc. The unconventional storytelling from Totland and Usopp from Dressrosa. Perfect.
My God,
Perfect.
deal with it. He's not in this arc.
see, the thing that I'd compare this to is Eni's Lobby, because it's two arcs that revolve. We've got to go and save someone, and there's a lot of similarities. We're essentially now on the comparative Lucci fight, but the thing is, Eni's Lobby had the climax with essentially, they had the climax of the Lucci fight, then they had the pseudo climax of the fighting the Buster Call. But then with the Going Merry turning back up, they essentially hit a climax and were able to leave very quickly and carry on with the story instead of having to wind down. And to me, the climax of this arc was the wedding. And we've kept on going, and it's been good, but it hasn't achieved the same height. And unless there's another climax coming that I can't see yet, it's gonna be like, so we hit the highest point, and the rest of everything else is good, but comparatively, it's not as good, and it's feeling like it's drawn out. And I'm getting to the point where I'd like to see what's happening over in Wano.
I mean, yeah, arc fatigue is a thing that it will just happen with arcs of this length. So I can see that, but again, I feel like having this section be more protracted does hit home that this is a different league of villain than usual.
It does if Luffy doesn't beat them all.
Well, if he beats Katakuri, fine. No, like, I don't mind because it took a while. But like Big Mom, if he like flat out just socks Big Mom one, then that will completely kill all of this.
Big Mom
Like,
should be untouchable. Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't think it helps that because we all know Wano is coming, we're really antsy about when we finally get there. We're
true,
like, come on, when do we go to Japantown?
I'm not. The thing is, I think I'm kind of. I think I don't want to leave Totland yet. I'm really enjoying. I'm really enjoying this chase, even though you might be exhausted. And I don't know where exactly Wano will go. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
So, do we have anything else to mention, or shall we move on?
Let's move on.
Let's move on. We've been on this for a while.
So, speaking of me being Wensleydale Cheddar, let's talk about Food Wars. Because there are cheeses in this chapter. Wow.
This chapter was underwhelming.
Yeah. Good. It's not just me hating Food Wars this week.
No, I liked last week's quite a lot. This again, it's just him winning, which is what we were expecting. It just does that. Doesn't really do anything especially special with that. And then with the new dish, literally the reaction we get is the judges going, "Oh, this smell!" Like, they're reacting to something. But the thing is, because Food Wars always pulls that with every single dish to emphasize how good it is, this cliffhanger doesn't tell us anything. Like, this tells us nothing special about this dish over any of the others. So yeah, really not much to say about this chapter.
So
I just love how much it blows the judges' minds that they're like, holy shit, he put cheese on pizza. And I'm like, you
It's
have
the
to have
quattro
tasted
formaggi.
Like,
It's
Look, I
a
get
dish
that there's a
even
bunch of
I know.
cheeses on
Even
there,
I know the
but-
quattro formaggi pizza.
I like cheese pizza too, but isn't the ingredient beef anyway? Like, wasn't that the point?
I know. It's the fact that Food Wars is normally really good at going like in depth into different styles of cuisine and like here is something that I would agree would be amazing if I had it. Their approach to Italian food has literally been, hey, it's pizza.
Okay, here's the thing. I wasn't on the podcast when this dish was first introduced, but now that I am, can I just say that this is the most Guy Fieri fucking dish that's ever shown up in Food Wars ever? It's like, welcome to Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, where we take a pizza and cover it in teriyaki beef with ginger and soy sauce. Like, that sounds fucking disgusting. Eat it, bitch. Like, just sounds disgusting to me. Is that just me?
So, is the combination of
Yeah.
gorgonzola, mozzarella, ricotta, and parmesan really something out of the ordinary?
No, it's literally I can go down to Sainsbury's and buy a frozen version of this, and
It's
it
like we
has
found
the
all
same
the
ingredients.
cheeses that exist in Italy and just mushed them together, along with like soy sauce and ginger beef, which I'm sorry, that sounds so disgusting to me.
If you want to do a fusion between Japanese and Italian cuisine, go with a risotto. They share the root of rice. Go with pasta. Go with sauces. Don't put shit on a pizza.
I mean, is this
I'm sorry,
the only
I've-
time they've done pizza right now, right?
I'm sorry, I've just
It's
been
Aldini.
recently rewatching the Impel Down arc with Idle Shitty Drawings and with Bartek and we just got to the part when the Sphinx just came to the second level and it was just it was just saying the names of different noodle dishes.
If one that Sphinx says teriyaki beef pizza, I'd kill it. I'm putting this poor Sphinx out of its misery. It doesn't know what good food is.
Are you guys watching like Polish subbed or dubbed or English subbed? Like, how are you watching it?
German
Polish
sub all
subbed,
the
I
way
think,
from
and
you
and
guys.
the subs are horrible. But
Ah.
I'm essentially translating it for him from what I read from the English scans, which are well a little
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. So, is there anything else we want to say about the Food Wars chapter, apart from this meal is
Well,
The
boring
meal is
as hell?
underwhelming. The result is underwhelming.
Well-
the hook for the next chapter is underwhelming.
well, Azan's face is good,
Hazon's face is good. Yeah,
and
sure.
Yeah.
and
I'm kind of desensitized to them at this point.
also
I feel like I'd enjoy this a lot more if we'd seen a lot more of Aldini going forward, because this is actually a big deal in the sense that this is the first win he's gotten in a very, very long time. And, you know, I feel like if I was more into the character, this would be a lot bigger for me. And at the same time, I do like a lot of the writing here. I think the whole fact that, like, the pizza, as disgusting as it looks, is the half moon thing. You
Oh,
know,
that pissed me
drawing
off. Okay.
back a callback to the whole Men's Luna thing. I think that's some quality writing there.
yeah,
Is
I
it?
like the spirit
Is
of
it
it.
though?
I like the spirit
Is
of
it
it
going
that you know all of those dishes, all of those matches I've had, except for the one with Soma. I am putting these into this one dish. It's kind of a cool sentiment, but yeah. It's
This
just
would
a
be
dish.
a much better fight.
Eh?
If this would be a much better fight if Aldini had a character, right?
Oh, shut up!
Anyway,
Takumi, best
now
boy.
You know,
I did see-
Wensleydale. Now you know how I feel about Rindo.
I did see the very enjoyable comment of one person when Aldini started copying Subaru. I was like, well, he finally has a character by stealing someone else's. I'm like, oh, that's brutal.
Oh. Okay. So I also near the end of the panels, I don't get how this cage is drawn because
It's been annoying me for weeks.
Yuki looks like she's phasing through it. So speaking of phasing powers,
Oh, God.
let's move on to My Hero Academia, where Mirio has that power, and he exists, but he's not in this chapter. But never mind.
He doesn't have it anymore because sadness.
Ah, yes. So, My Hero Academia...
But not sadness. Let's watch Shizaki get punched through the goddamn sky.
Hell yes.
My Hero Academia
Yep.
chapter 158. So,
I love this.
Yeah, it's mostly just a cool action chapter, and that's awesome.
There's a lot of cool stuff in it though. The fact like you get the shot of Chizaki destroying the neighborhood to try and hit Deku and Eri, and like you get the shots of the people in the houses around them, like with everything crumbling down. The mother leaping over her child's cot, and then the next scene is Deku getting in Chizaki's face and punching him into the air so he can't hurt anyone else.
yeah, I was a bit confused about that at first, but because as much as Horikoshi's artwork is gorgeous, his composition is so confusing at times that I have to reread the chapter to grasp exactly
he
what is
often
going
puts
on.
a very important motion in quite a small panel, or crowds out the panel, so it's hard to make out.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a style I enjoy. It's a good way of showing like here's essentially one small punch in a small panel, and this is the amazing effect it has. This huge one.
Well, as
Also,
long as
what
can
did you
together.
what did you guys think of the Jigsaki backstory?
It's hilarious. It's such a good villain backstory, in that essentially just like I've come to this conclusion, and I'm right. None of the rest of you can see the brilliance that I see, and essentially just going through every single person who was trying to help him and talk him out of it, and it's just like, no, I know best. I know best. It's so cathartic to watch him get punched after saying just like, no, none of you understand. Punch, 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 punch.
Yeah, I was because the way they originally built up the boss, I thought they were going for like he was like carry on the boss's legacy or something. So
Yeah, that was what's implied.
yeah,
this
is kind of a turnaround on that.
And
It's good.
It's not a retcon.
I wish we got this a little bit earlier, personally.
Yeah.
But one thing one thing I've sort of figured out, and it's a really good thing in the favor of My Hero Academia, is the reason I like this chapter so much. It's not so much the satisfaction of seeing Chisaki get beaten up, even though that's pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. It's the fact that Deku's doing it so effectively. Because something My Hero Academia does that I don't think any other series in Shonen Jump does so well is it makes me insanely pumped up when the main character gets to fight. Because so often he just gets his butt kicked or he just gets his body destroyed. So to be able to see him to fight at this level and
Going
just
all out,
decimating
not having
the
to
villain
worry
is
about like
insanely satisfying for me.
limiting himself.
Well, the thing is, I think he still does have to worry about it. I very much get from his intensity that he essentially this idea of him breaking himself and Eri healing it is not a good thing.
Yeah.
However, it's something that he's essentially taking on to beat the shit out of Chizaki. The comparison I draw is essentially every time Luffy uses Gear Second, he's essentially shortening his own life. And when that first came up, it was a huge moment, essentially just like, here is my conviction to beat you and take Robin back.
And then I use it against fucking Minotauros.
It's gotten a bit weird, yes, I admit. Then again, I'm not entirely sure Luffy's the sort of character who cares. But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see what the cost of this fight is going to be on Deku.
Yeah, I hope there is one.
Yeah, there definitely is one. What I was more talking about is just the fact that, like, this is the kind of stuff Deku always wants to do, but his body kind of continuously holds him back. So to be able to see him to just absolutely wail on someone like this, it's just something that as a reader, I'm like, this is just awesome to see.
Because in this fight, he is All Might. And if I was watching recently I marathoned most of season 1 of the My Hero dub. And the way they go into the early All Might fights in that are very reminiscent of this chapter. Just the ability of like, in one punch, I can change the weather. In one punch, I can throw you across the city.
I will say, My Hero Academia is going to be off next week, but it's the reasons they've actually stated what his reasons are. Horikoshi is taking a week off to do some research, whatever that may mean.
Oh.
So that has me a little relieved because I was worried. Oh no, is he sick again? I hope he's not. I hope he's not going the way of Ashihara. But yeah, it seems like there's another reason.
Yeah. Also, the art in this is lovely. The art in this is amazing, especially compared to One Piece, which is also having a climax fight. And you see occasionally where essentially some panels were sacrificed to include everything in the chapter. It's so nice just to see. This is an amazing shot. This is an amazing shot. Oh my god, this panel layout is dynamic and great and adds so much to this scene.
I really hope the research he's doing is just a movie marathon of like watching like Civil War and stuff like that and being like, all right, what to do? And then watching Suicide Squad. What fucking definitely not to do.
Then I imagine him just seeing a shaky cam movie and this is great, and he just implemented it into his panel somehow.
So you just put shake lines around the panels.
He starts drawing in shaky cam.
Come on, we all know he doesn't watch Marvel movies. We all know he watches old-timey Superman movies with him just flying around.
Just imagining him like taking the paper that hasn't fully dried yet and just shaking it in his hands a bunch and be like, okay, now it's perfect.
He just rustles last page.
Yeah, he just rustles every single issue of Shonen Jump printed, and then well, now it's ready for sale.
And Shonen Jump's cheering him on like, thank God, Kubo left us with so much black ink. We're glad someone's fucking using it. It was going to go bad otherwise.
We just ordered in black. Yeah, because no one else uses it. Black Clover doesn't shade.
No. Black Clover doesn't
Why
anything
did
other
you
than
see Black Clover throwing Black Aster? We got to get rid of this stuff.
Oh, okay. Speaking of which, that's a good transition. Should we move on to Black Clover? Or does anyone else have anything to say about My Hero?
Nah, sure. I just want to mention that it was nice. There were a nice few little details like Chrono having a good relationship with Overhaul even before he took over, and Uraraka still trying not to get sick as she levitates with Night Eye. Though it seems like the girls will be stuck with the Yamcha job of taking people to safety now. Yay!
Oh yeah, no, they really got the shaft in this arc, and it's something that. Look, I really enjoyed this arc, but looking back on it, I was like, oh, that sucked. That was so unfortunate that they didn't get to do anything.
It is not as bad as I thought it would be, because I literally thought they'd have just been fighting that one guy at the gate off panel for the entire thing.
Nothing. Yeah, that's. I have the same.
If they do just act as transport, though, that is as bad as I thought it would be.
No, they had a fight. They turned up and it like interfered in this fight and enabled them to. They had a point in this arc. They
didn't have a fight. They had less than half a chapter.
It was more than I was expecting, and honestly, more than I expect of most female characters in a shonen series.
Well,
it's not what I would expect from My Hero Academia, though.
Even so, now we have Ryukyu, who's a professional hero, and Niet, who can still fight, as far as we know. And yet she's
not, though. Like, it is something I'm sort of sitting here thinking, like, oh man, they're in the air. If only a dragon could somehow go up there to fight.
Yeah,
but I guess we'll never know how that could happen.
I honestly don't think anyone else in here is at the level to interfere in this fight. This is literally a fight on the scale of All Might.
Well, isn't she?
I mean, I feel like a dragon should be able to add some. There's really no moment in Shonen Jump where I'd be like, yeah, a dragon wouldn't really be of any help here.
Yeah, and she's the number 10 hero.
Like in a Luffy and Katakuri fight, if a dragon showed up, I'd be like, I mean, Katakuri, you're pretty good. I think you're fucked now.
Ironically, in One Piece, the characters at the level where they can one-shot Kastor.
I just love the fact that we've gotten to that point in shonen manga where we're like, well, how the fuck is a dragon supposed to help, guys? Come on.
Power creep.
Speaking of... No,
Black Clover's
never
in
mind.
it.
Black Clover 131. So I hate
generally,
Rill.
what did people...
I
Yeah.
hate Rill. It's not a good idea to make your antagonist invincible, but if you have a supporting ally with basically infinite power, that's even worse. The only way he could possibly work from now on is if you turned him into an antagonist, but even then he wouldn't be an effective one, just basically another Grammy.
Yeah,
What the fuck is the point of having him here?
there isn't one.
It's worse than there isn't one. I feel like he's retroactively making this tournament worse, because the entire idea of this tournament is that you show off your abilities to possibly get picked for the team, which is pretty hard when the captain of the Aqua Deer, whatever the hell he's called, just one-shots everyone over and over and over again.
Oh God, I know why he's here. Yuno's going to beat him in the final battle and just be like, "Hey, I beat a captain," and it's just like, we don't care.
Oh, if
No
it takes
one
more
cares.
than one chapter for Yuno to clown this guy, I'll be shocked. But it's just when I stop to think about it, like the point of this tournament, it just seems dumber and dumber. It's the equivalent of it if you let Kakashi into the tuning exams.
This entire tournament has been dumb as shit. I'm not going to lie. I for a measure, I guess, like you're introducing characters for a future arc, or I don't know, you were told to have a tournament arc because people like tournament arcs. I don't. Yeah.
Speaking of which, the Wizard King, I don't think he knows how tournaments work, because either that or I don't, since to me, the fact that the match between Team Yuno and Team Rill is going to be the finals seems like absolute bullshit. If the previous match ended with a draw, which is basically on the same level, on the semifinals level, like Team Yuno and Team Rills, shouldn't the finals be, I don't know, whoever wins this fight, and I don't know, versus both Team Asta and Team Langris?
That was the Food Wars way of doing it, which I'm not going to lie, is a more interesting finale. It's not the same goddamn fight again.
Here's the thing, though. And again, this may not happen, but I feel like the way this arc has been paced has given me an idea of where they're going with this. Because you made the prediction that Yuno is going to win this, and I agree. The issue is the key word here being Yuno. I really want Noelle to have a moment in this arc, but the fact that the Aqua Deer guys' other two teammates haven't been built up at all, and the fact that it really is being portrayed as a battle between Yuno and the captain is making me worried that Noelle's not going to have anything to do
The thing is,
in
Noelle.
this fight. And I get that she did have that moment where she took out her brother early on, but I really hope that she's not
That
just going
was
to be
bad.
acting as support here, and it just ends up being a battle between the two most boring characters in this
Yeah.
entire manga.
I would agree. I'd like that. My problem is that Noelle technically has had a moment in this arc. It was a bullshit one that got skated over so much far more quickly than it really should have with her brother. But also with how she's been shown in this arc and shown in Black Clover, I can't. She's a female character in a shonen manga.
I think we're going to have a lot of deaths in the manga community as all of us are simultaneously bored to death by this coming fight.
Yep. So we have skipped over the entire first bit of like the conclusion of the Asta fight, which has two moments that annoy me. One of which is Asta collapsing after going Black Asta mode, which I don't think we've actually noted as a thing. The only thing I was like going, oh, hang on, this makes sense. No, it doesn't. It only makes sense because this is what happened to Naruto every time he went QB mode. And also, you've got the weird mask guy shouting at everyone, which makes me think for a moment, hang on, did I write this? This sounds like something I write for Felix. What the fuck
I love
is going
Zora
on?
so much. He says everything I want to say.
I mean,
It's just like, yeah, and you went on for an entire page. I recognize my own bad writing. Why is it in this chapter?
I must admit I can get behind Zora more now. Now that he has berated himself as well at the end of his rant.
That pissed me off, but it's Black Clover.
Apparently, the dub of the anime is really good.
Is it really good or just better than the sub?
I don't know. I just hear this is a really solid dub, so yeah. I might give it another. I might give the anime another try with the dub just to see if it's slightly more bearable.
I want to.
Maybe.
I still want to see the subbed version. I haven't had time, but I want to hear the screams.
Ugh.
I don't. The idea of being able to hear Asta talk is something that like I never want this in my life, really.
It's even worse than you'd assume.
Also, can we point out how when Asta collapses, there's a shot of an entire crowd going around him. Oh my god, he collapsed! It's like I thought we addressed in this arc, in this world, no one gives a shit about how commoners live or die. Why are people suddenly caring if he's alive?
I don't know. I just
Because I guess just the Wizard King is a good guy. I guess.
It's just one of those moments where just like I know what you want to make his collapse seem big and also sympathetic, but just like I think you're breaking the rules of your own universe here.
It really is hard once you establish that everyone else except maybe 5 people are complete and other assholes. Yeah.
It's weird. It's not. It's something like if you want to go into this society, you need to address it, and this series doesn't. It just comes up occasionally, just like, you're a commoner, rah, 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 rah. It just breaks into Charlie Brown school days, and essentially just like adults talking. Wah, 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 wah.
Well, maybe they are just whispering it in the backgrounds, but they don't want to ruin the moment. Commoner, you're a commoner. And by the way, I'm afraid I have to break the bad news to you. Our favorite team of Ben, Brad, and Eric must have lost the fight.
Son of a bitch.
Oh no.
I hope they make it on the team. They did good work.
So speaking of Ben, Brad, and Eric being a team of 3, which we also have in Promised Neverland, let's move on to the Promised Neverland. Chapter 61.
Okay, just let me take a giant nap while this chapter is going on. I'll get back to
you.
Yeah, it is getting a little boring again.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of running, observing. The kids observe the man. Billy Bob Thenardier observes the kids. They are learning from each other, but
The monsters look cool.
I mean,
Yeah. So yeah, I'll give them that.
I mean, they look kind of generic to me, but fair enough.
Yeah.
I think I'm a big fan of this guy's art.
I think my main problem is just like if Promised Neverland could just never go into woods again, I think it would be great because every time they're in woods, it seems like the entire series just dips in quality.
Whenever they're in a building, it's great.
Yeah, whenever they're in civilization, it's cool. Whenever they're in woods, it's just like, okay.
It's just kind of a survival.
So we're gonna find out that Goldie Pond is actually like an abandoned shopping mall, and we're gonna be like, "Fuck yes!" And then we're gonna go inside and fill the trees, and we're like, "No!"
That would be awesome. But yeah, Promised Neverland is such a weird series, and that it's got such good writing and such good ideas, and then we'll transition to something amazingly boring, and give it just the same like length and time and energy as if.
I mean,
I think I was a little more sort of, like I wasn't quite as down on it. I was just kind of lukewarm myself. But I guess I can see where you guys are coming from.
I mean, I suppose we just need a little more at stake, or a little more maybe humor woven into it. How do we escape the monsters now? Okay. Emma comes up with an idea. We can now break our legs. No. That's your solution
Yeah.
to
It needs
everything,
more
Emma.
strategy.
Also, okay. I have a feeling this seems like the start of like a cutaway. Like they go through so much stuff, like maybe a montage, just like them try surviving this, you brats. Like that feels like the
I
start.
thought you meant we go into a Promised Neverland clip show.
No, as in like
Rocky,
it just
Rocky
kind of
training montage to beat these animals.
Yeah,
Dum,
it just
ba-da-dum,
kind of
ba-da-dum,
it doesn't.
ba-da-da.
So we don't actually see them like trying every going into detail on every obstacle. It's just that cutting to panels of them fending off obstacles.
Okay, because
God,
what I
I
was
hope
picturing
so.
in my head is like Emma just standing on the tree and yelling, "Son of a bear!" And then we just cut to like Gilda and Dawn in the shelter, Mom wherever she is, and Norman on the bus all going like, "What was that?"
Oh.
Speaking of which, I was really expecting to hear for what the fuck happened to Norman by now.
I wasn't. I think we're in the long haul on that one.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, which is weird. I do now, but that was weird. Right, should we move? Anything else to say on Promised Neverland apart from
Guys, I know. So they mentioned that the trees are stone, at least at the bottom, right? So I think I get it now.
Yep.
How much into the future
tree-
did Sung Seos say this world is?
Well, I believe technically the tree has to go to university for at least 4 years, get its masters, and then do a further 4 years of PhD to get the doctorate, so we can finally make it a Dr. Stone tree.
So let's move on to We Never Learn.
This chapter was another funny one. It's like it's basically Chinese whispers but with phones. Thingy what's her face? Shy Gut Furuhashi wants to help Yuiga learn how to cook. She doesn't know how. She texts Ogata. Ogata misunderstands and texts Uruka, which is the funniest bit because she just texts Uruka, who of course is in swimwear, is like, help. Furuhashi needs help to make a boyfriend. Make a boyfriend, and he has to be really yummy.
I'm okay. No, there are so many jokes I want to do.
Wow.
Yeah. And ultimately, it goes around so much, and it really goes on this whole like, he's thinking, oh, she's trying to impress a guy, and then eventually it gets back to the teacher, and she like, luckily enough, interprets this as, oh, she needs, in order to impress this guy, she needs to make something really nice, and then gives her the recipe, actually recipe for the dish, or just for something to make. So yeah, this is another amusing chapter.
Yeah.
It's amusing. I always found it like both funny and kind of sad in a harem manga where I realized that the only reason all of these characters are so infatuated with the main character is because they all have really, really sad love lives.
Yeah.
The sense that like not even the 19-year-old, but also the teacher has apparently never had like a significant other.
That's my
Aw.
favorite part of it, in that the dichotomy between the teacher looking like she's got her shit together and going into the situation just like, no, I've got no clue what I'm doing, but my students can never find out.
Well, I do have a
And
guy that cleans up my
Yeah.
apartment every once in a while.
Can I
Yeah.
also point out, I'm just skimming through, and the scene where...
I also like that she screws herself over in doing that because she's trying to deflect her away, but saying, no, I have a really awesome boyfriend. And she's like, oh, okay, you should be fine then. Bye.
Yeah. But it's the scene where Swimming Girl's gotten the text and accidentally spills her water down herself.
Yeah.
Really? Just really? That...
People just suck at liquids in this universe. Nobody knows how to drink. Nobody knows how to hold glasses.
I'm more questioning the artist of just like, dude, did you not draw enough porn this week? Did you need to
It's
get
just
this out of
funny
your
to me because in
system?
the case of the swimming girl, like usually the way the fan service is like, hidden is like, oh, Uega's seeing it, so that's the joke. And here it's just like, I mean, fuck it, it's just the audience. I'm just gonna be shameless as shit here.
I mean, like, okay, I think the one that I liked the most was like, oh, we can all study. Okay, apparently studying in the bath helps, and so he phone calls each of them, just like, yeah, so I'm trying to study in the bath, right? And then it just cuts to her. It's like, so you studying in the bath as well? Oh no, I'm just having a bath. I wasn't studying.
I was doing laps.
I was just showering like a normal person.
The thing that confuses me a bit, though, is I get that Fumino not knowing how to cook at all because she comes from a rich family. With our protagonist coming from a poor family and not knowing how to cook, I'm a bit confused because I'm just like, surely kids don't learn how to cook because either their parents can cook for them or they can all just go and, if they need to provide for themselves, go and get a takeaway meal. If you don't have the money to do that, I would imagine he would have learned to cook.
Well, I mean,
wait, what
do you really have to cook that much to make bread crusts?
That's a good point.
Because that's all he eats.
Also just
right,
edible weeds that he can find out in the forest.
I do forget, like, how, like, he's such a poor, deprived family, and how much that is treated as a joke in this series.
It's amazing. He says the extent of Kenny McCormick from South Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if we're all done with this, can I quickly touch on the jump starts?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure.
So there's the new one is Golem Hearts. This was just shy of Black Clover levels of derivative for me. Like, it isn't as obnoxious or dumb, but it feels like a story I've seen so many times before. It's like, it's in a world where people can create golems, stuff out of magic, and this old Geppetto man makes one, he really wants to help out, but everyone in town treats him like an outcast because he's really bad and he screws up a lot, even though he's like done nothing wrong. And one of the guys threatens to like have him destroyed, like he should be destroyed, and then the Geppetto man has to stand up for him. But then the man who was threatening him's daughter gets kidnapped by a bad guy, and the golem and the creator team up to take it down, and they prove themselves, and like it's just the most stock version of that kind of story.
So I think I've read this a while ago as a one shot,
Okay.
I'm glad to see this was serialized because as far as I remember, I like the one shot. I haven't read the first chapter now, but yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. If it's if I get access to it.
Yes.
Are any of the golems female and have big boobs?
No.
Question 2.
Not yet.
Question 2 was me. How long do you reckon it's taken?
I don't know. This series has a very cutesy, childish art style, so hard to say, really.
So we're thinking like 5 weeks in bottom 5. Like we're thinking.
Yeah, and I think aside from this, there's also the table tennis manga, that one, where you made the point on how her plugs, the main lead's Marin, her sports uniform looked a lot like Asuka's suit from Evangelion. This chapter, she is literally just Asuka if she got into ping pong. That's her personality. Like, it's uncanny.
This is going to be your review of this chapter.
And yeah, this chapter was it's just okay. He joins the school and he meets the owner who randomly starts like shouting a motivational speech at him out of nowhere. Like,
that's not creepy.
Like, they start talking about like why he's getting into it, and then she just suddenly starts shouting for no reason. It's like, what? And she starts shouting back, and it's like, where did this come from?
I hope he does this with everyone. I hope he's just walking down the street and like somebody's outside a shop like, should I get pork-based ramen or chicken-based ramen? And he's like, you have to make your decisions from the heart. Don't worry, don't waver, understand what you must do. And they're like, oh, stop it.
Hello, police, there's a hobo yelling at me in the street again.
I'm not a hobo, I own a school. You really shouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
And also, he meets the strongest guy in the whole school. He's one of the top players in the nation. and he only shakes. He says he only shakes hands with people when it's time for a match. And then at the end of the chapter, he's like, "I think it's time to shake hands." So they're gonna have a match.
Cool.
This manga really made me appreciate Haikyuu a lot more.
Also, Marin's practice training uniform is oddly looks like she's going out to a nightclub. Like
I love it when series will occasionally do like, here's a uniform in inverted commas, and essentially just like,
it's like
cheesecake shot.
It's like a sort of tight-fitting crop top and shorts which show off her midriff, and like she has like a choker around her neck, like a black sort of gothy thing, and like ribbons in her hair, and it's like, this is your training uniform, really?
It takes me 3 hours to get ready for my match.
I guess she's a table tennis idol, so
but
maybe it makes sense.
But there's no one else here. It's just those three.
I mean, there's paparazzi everywhere, man. You gotta keep up the image.
They're just convinced that they are celebrities, and okay, just let them live the little fantasy. Just let them.
But guys, didn't you hear? It's a golden age of table tennis, so all 20 of those people must be really excited.
What is it with is this actually a thing? Because there was another series a while ago which golden age of table tennis.
Yeah, are you thinking of
Ageha's table tennis? See, that was actually good.
The one that just did not take itself seriously and did it in the most gloriously bad way.
The one that made it clear that this guy's crazy obsession with table tennis is kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't go out of you. I'm in a committed relationship with table tennis.
Even
I
if
wish
you
I was
appear before me in a naked apron, or something like that.
Yeah, no, there was such greatly flawed characters just taking the piss out of, this is a stupid premise. Here is the only way this premise can work. We all know it's stupid.
Yeah. So, speaking of people being creepy, I'm just tying into back a while ago where you were talking about the guy who gives everyone motivational speeches. Oh, look, here in Dr. Stone, people are licking Kinro's eyes. So, Dr. Stone, chapter 33.
This was fine. I like the gag of like repeating the repeating reaction face from Kohaku, which he's like, "You're planning to have my sister drink this?" with the chemicals.
Yeah, and
I like how everyone's kind of shady, and Chrome is Ginero is literally he's having that moment of when you realize you're the only wholesome guy in the room when they're planning their strategy for the tournament.
When you realize everyone else you know is a shithead.
I love that every time they present a new chemical, Senku has to hold it out to Suika. Who's just so
Scare
terrified.
the shit out of her. My favourite part of this is that they go through the dangers of every single chemical, which is interesting and honestly educationally not bad. Like the entire science of this chapter is pretty accurate, even down to like the distillation methods and how they're separating the chemicals. The thing is, they make a big thing about everything they make, and there's one scene in the electrolysis where Senku just goes, we're using electricity to break down the salt water. Gah, that reeks. Yes. That chlorine gas this pot is giving off sure smells bad and definitely isn't poisonous to everyone in the surrounding vicinity.
Yeah. Also in
dude.
the one panel, is Senku Gordon Ramsay?
That was his scene for when they did Cooking with Senku earlier. Like they did that chapter when when they're making gunpowder cook up gunpowder.
Whenever I hear Cooking with Senku, I immediately assume they're making crystal meth. It never ceases. I just assume he's gonna buy his own private commissile. He's gonna hang out with some bald guys.
With the impressive equipment they have, I think they possibly could, if they had the chemical, make distillation tubes. They make dripping tubes.
I mean, that would be a much faster way to get the entire village on your side than ramen. That's all I'm saying.
I'm sorry. I'm just reading the panel PSA. Don't go using this to dispose of dead bodies, boys and girls. Good boys and girls wouldn't be in a situation then where they need to dispose of dead bodies.
My other favourite point is like, we need ammonia. How are we going to get that? But pee into a pot. Just like
how are we
Yeah.
gonna get ammonia? Don't worry about it.
I think my other point is like you can tell they're kids when they essentially go at the end. It's like, why alcohol? What scientific procedure can we do to get that? It's like, kids, adults need to forget sometimes. We discovered alcohol ages ago. Just go win the competition tomorrow, and you can win as much as you want.
Yeah. Also, nice ways to transition into the tournament.
Which Senku is joining for some reason, and is interesting because we get essentially the reaction from Kohaku to sort of just say, okay, this is weird, but I support this. And I'm not entirely sure why Senku has joined this, apart from the idea of like, essentially we can drop out and give you easy wins.
I like it as a premise, but now, okay, they made a point that Chrome can't join, but if Senku is joining that, then it doesn't really make sense why Chrome wouldn't.
Which is my thinking of like the Chrome isn't joining because I'm not sure if it's me going like I want this to happen because it's my theory, but Chrome isn't joining so he can step in dramatically and join later.
But how would this work?
I'm guessing there's a sign up for this. I'm guessing he can't just go, oh, the entire competition. I challenge the guy who's fought 8 different people, and I can now challenge him while having taken no damage and beat him after he's tired. So hang on. I think there's a reason why people aren't allowed to do this.
You know what? Also, I love the first panel. In the entire chapter, as much as Senku is an all-knowing scientist, I like that he has weaknesses like his weakness, because everyone apart from him is holding at least a few pots of
even Chrome.
Of the deadly gas, and he's just holding one pot.
Which is a really bad idea because if he gets tired and drops that, they're all dead.
Yep.
I quite like the title page because the first time in a title page, Kohaku is at the back without her ass on show.
Because we're focusing on the adorable nerdy boy.
Wait, where?
On the art page, doesn't it?
On the cover page.
Yeah. Also, I'm just like, Senku's got random goggle glasses with a load of twiddly bits on them. I'm just like, what are they for? They're not magnifying specs. Could you see an infrared in these? Have you just put a load of bolts on to make your safety glasses look cooler? Also, they're apparently making the spirits of the dead by chemical reaction.
In any case, I would love it if okay, so we advance a bit in the tech tree, as Senku mentions. Okay, a few steps from now, and we get the antibiotics, right?
Mm-hmm. They essentially just need to mix everything.
Yeah. So I would love this is if after all of this road of the Panaceum is over, it'll be hilarious if they invent antibiotics just to discover that no, Ruri actually has a virus infection.
or essentially what it sounds more like it is genetic, because if it was bacteria, she's either being constantly like, it's either some horrible thing. Her illness doesn't sound bacterial, is what I'm getting at. And it's just like, okay, we're going to make antibiotics. It's going to magically cure this magical disease, which is apparently bacterial. It sounds genetic, and I'm just like, okay, I don't think in the Stone Age you can cure genetic disorders.
Can you invent chemotherapy?
Oh God! Which would be horrible in another way. Like chemotherapy to get rid of your cancer. Senku, did you not? I know you did physics and chemistry. Cancer and genetic disorders are not the same thing. This is not going to help.
It's like, but I already invented.
It's a good idea, guys.
I made an X-ray. He went safer. Can I turn it into a weapon and kill the army coming to attack us the moment we? Yes.
Kind of, actually.
Yes, you can. Guys, I invented nuclear fission. Will that save her?
All right.
He's just inventing more
Everyone's
and more
like,
deadly weapons just as an excuse to cure Rory.
If they go and find the ruins of a nuclear power plant, they would be able to go and find radioactive material. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and they also would be able to charge Taiju's cell phone. So yeah.
Just having the idea that eventually they'll get, like, the series will start suffering. They'll go to a nuclear power plant and will get superpowers.
Oh god, and I would love this if this would be a freaking the big emotional moment for Taiju. Yes, I am finally able to charge my smartphone. And then he realized, oh no, I haven't got it.
Yeah. No, but I'm looking forward to where it goes from here, because this tournament's been built up. We have a lot of loose hanging threads that are implied to get finished in this. Whether they do or not will be interesting. Or if they are going into a tournament, whether this gets invaded in round 3 by by Tsukasa's army and ends like all shonen tournament arcs.
Yeah, and then. Which would be interesting if then we would get Magma's redemption arc.
He's a mass. If we get a Magma redemption arc, I'm going to be annoyed because they built him up to be this amazing douchebag already.
What? Gaston doesn't get a happy ending? Oh.
So
Stone Age Gaston is definitely my favorite character. It's just like, oh, he's such an amazing douche, and it's just that this is done really well for how much he's been on panel.
I'm especially good at attempted murder.
So,
yeah.
Speaking of attempted murder, briefly just to note on
We never learn again. Like, wait, what?
Wait, what? That was a double chapter.
I want to just briefly mention on Robot 6 Laserbeam. They've just. I'm amazed by the length the author wants golf to look exciting. That they just have the main characters arrive at the first round by parachute.
I know. I read this one after last week's episode and say, what the fuck is going on?
I don't know. Wait, what? What's happening?
Okay, you missed this, Nova. The week before last, 30 chapters in, Robotech Laserbeam essentially had the character admit he liked golf for the first time, but was going to spend his next 3 years training at his school.
And the final.
Training to school so he could essentially enjoy it and but essentially become good at golf, but enjoy his school days at the same time. Essentially, reading it, you're going through like, oh, okay. I wouldn't, if this is going into a 3 years slice of life school life thing where he gets better at golf. That sounds interesting. We can see the surrounding cast. We can learn about them. We can get invested in this series. The final page says 3 years later. He did a goddamn time skip at 30 chapters.
That's kind of awesome. That's really funny.
Such a bad idea, and this chapter essentially does the thing of like, we haven't seen each other for 3 years. It's like, let's have all the supporting cast talk to each other before the protagonist arrives in the final page, and it's just like, we don't know who these people are. You skipped the 3 years we would have got to know them in.
Yes. So first of all, I want to mention nobody's changed. Even appearance-wise, nobody's changed, which is a fairy tale because then we wouldn't be able to recognize people, which I'm already having a hard trouble recognizing since they all look kind of similar. Then we also three of the team members from the school club are actually out of the action at all. Just the snake shot guy, Robo, and probably the probably the guy with the weird colored hair are going pro now, and okay, so kind of the least interesting characters are going to be in the action now.
Yeah,
It really is a fairy tale time skip.
it's such
Alright.
a.
But yeah,
this
I
chapter
think
was made so much better by one of the parachutes not working. The characters.
Yeah.
I think generally speaking, Jump for me has been like One Piece and We Never Learn were particularly. Then Hiroaka was cool. Everything else was a bit weak.
I love Dr. Stone and.
Okay, Dr. Stone was fine. It was a bit transitional, but it was
It
still
was a
solid.
transitional chapter, but it was a good transitional chapter.
It was hilarious.
Can we also point out that he sent down his golf bag by parachute as well?
Really?
It's in the final page, and the third parachute is just his golf bag falling down to the point of like he crashed into somebody when he arrived and not the floor. If the golf bag had done that, they would be dead.
Okay, and if it just flew somewhere else, then he would have a bit of a problem, wouldn't he?
It also looks like it's about to land on the crowd, which.
Which would be amazing if he's just, again, to tie this into attempted murder again, if he, like, takes out somebody in the crowd and then gets kicked out of the tournament. We cut to 3 years later when his suspension is finally gone.
Also, they jumped out of a plane. Who pulled the cord on the parachute on his golf bag?
I mean, I would be fine with this becoming a gag manga. every chapter we have a time skip.
3 chapters later, he's about 60 and teaching the next generation. We're going to time skip until we find a likable cast.
Oh god. And then 300 years later, he actually gets turned into a Dalek, and then Jonah's voice for him makes sense.
100 years later, the Quincy turn up and just say, "Hey, we had a massive blood war plan." Just like, okay.
I will come back after 3 years at Dalek Golf School and defeat you all.
So that is gonna do it for
I
this
don't know.
week.
I don't know any golf term that I can turn into exterminate, and I feel like a failure.
I will exterminate the competition.
Boo.
Figuratively, but also literally.
With my golf bag, smash, 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 smash.
That'll be all for this
Well,
week of Stammer
okay.
Stream, guys. Thank you all for watching.
Yeah.
Either on my... Okay. Something else?
No, yeah, I said yes.
Okay. Thank you all for watching, either on my YouTube channel or live at twitch.tv/Wensleydale Cheddar. We usually try to record on Saturdays at 10 AM Eastern Standard Time, 3 PM GMT and 4 PM GMT+1. You can follow me on Twitter, at Wensleydale Cheddar, for updates on the stream, on Penganta, Well Triggered, Friendly Faces Everywhere, and many other projects. Follow Milo at Hovin with an H for anime waifus, Cabal Hijinks, Cabalcast, which is definitely coming, guys, and Trial by Guilty Crown, a podcast he does with Kastor. Follow Grail at Grail. I'm sorry, today he just told me I never pronounced it correctly. So follow Grail at Nuclear Android for gaming tweets and World Conquest. Follow Dr. Nova at Jonah Left Snow for the Danganronpa podcast, I guess. And hey, if you're subscribed to me on YouTube, the link is always in the description below, so you can subscribe to the main Team ODR account as well, since the Danganronpa podcast has been uploaded there. And obviously subscribe to Milo too. So be sure to visit our One Piece RP forum, One Dream Adventure Reborn, to write some lovely stories with us and talk about manga in general. odar.comforums.com is the address. And for those of you who haven't seen the recent announcement, there is an announcement. Nova?
Yes. So, One Dream Adventure Reborn is going to be making a bit of a transition recently. This is due to multiple factors, due to the conditions of many different moderators and many different staff members. I want to make it clear this isn't just one staff member's decision. This is very much a collective. In the case that there were certain people who can't make as much time anymore, some people who, for one reason or another, can't make it so the way the forum currently operates can continue to operate in its way. That said, we don't want to close down the forum because of that, because we all love the forum, and we want to keep it going, even if not all of the moderating staff will continue to be there. So essentially, we're making it a lot more free form, in the sense that a lot of the hard-cut rules that require direct moderator supervision are becoming a lot more lax. In particular, the review system, which is undergoing a lot of changes. Grail posted up an excellent explanation of it that you can look over. From what I understand, there might be some other changes going on, but I'm completely separate from that, so those I'm not entirely sure about. But just to let you know, even though the forum is changing, it's not gone. We're going to make it so it's still around, that people can still write some really, really quality stories, and that we can still help to try and create the community that we've always really enjoyed.
Yeah. So, anything else we want to mention, or
Nah.
Okay.
I got to get back to that Danganronpa case. I'm
Just
halfway
quickly.
through it.
Just quickly then, it is November, which means it is NaNoWriMo time. For anyone who doesn't know, NaNoWriMo is essentially a challenge put out by the internet.
A website.
Essentially it's a program designed to get people writing. The idea is you write a certain amount each day during the month of November, and by the end, you have a completed novel. It doesn't have to be good. It may not even be bad if you're lucky. But it's a great way to get over writer's block and just write, practice everything, and at the end you will have something you will be proud of.
Okay,
It's a great idea.
Will you be using this to finally finish Maslow?
I will not. I am actually using this month to essentially do the first chapter of a new series I'm writing, which is title still in progress, but it's going to be set in the Metropolis, a sort of magical realism world that I'm making up for the first time. Though the deuteragonists will be very familiar.
Okay. That's cool.
I actually have been working on a novel for quite a while, so this will give me some extra motivation for that.
Nice.
I don't have time.
Neither do I, but NaNoWriMo is actually quite good at making me find like an hour.
I don't have an hour. I don't have an
I
hour,
know, it's
but if I could, I would participate. I usually have to write a lot for October, since that's when my best friend and the co-writer for Penganta has his birthday. So we usually we have an arrangement where we give each other presents, which are basically scripts for the show. So
Hey,
utilitarian.
I got you the presents of not having to work for a bit.
Yeah,
That's pretty good, actually. I like that.
yeah. So that's a good excuse. Will we be able to see your story once it's completed, or?
Yeah, no, I will share it with you guys. I'm saying essentially it's going to be short stories, essentially short story chapters. But no, I'll send it over for you guys to read.
Okay.
Might even release it if I'm not horribly embarrassed by the product.
Absolutely. It's always great. Even, I have no shame. My old South Park fanfiction is still up on fanfiction.net. But I would definitely like to see those. So yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, good stuff. Alright then, once again, cheers for watching, and we will see you next week. Take care.